Good morning, everybody. Today we'll be learning another new topic called as the International Monetary System. So, this international monetary system is overall in financial environment in which the multinational corporation and international investors operate. Okay, so there are many, actually, the exchange rates among the major currency, such as US dollars, British pounds, Swiss francs, etc., uh, or even Japanese yen. So these have been fluctuating since the fixed exchange rate system regime was announced. So we will learn various kind of or evolution of international monetary system. So this was essential for the managers to understand the detailed arrangements and working of this international monetary system. So there were certain issues that because of some fluctuation, how the international monetary system was working. So before going through in detail about the evolution, we will just go see that what is the meaning of international monetary system. It can be defined as an institutional framework within the international payments are made, movements of capital are accommodated, and exchange rates among the currencies are determined. So, if we take it as an institutional framework, which means there will be a framework how the payments are to be made, maybe through which kind of mode to be made, which bank you have to you which form more what which movements of capital are to be accommodated, or exchange rates of which currencies, maybe two or three currency which will be traded simultaneously. So we have to look into all those things. So it is a complex as a whole arrangement, rules, institution mechanism, policies regarding exchange rates and payments and flow of capital. Next, we'll come to the evolution. We have this five evolution still present. So as I told you, flexible exchange rate is, okay, fine. Instead of going from flexible exchange rate, we will just start with the bimetallism. So this bimetallism was actually started in early 70s, where they had a double standard free coinage maintained, that is both silver and gold. So in Great Britain, bimetallism was maintained, and it was only free coin of gold only. Then they started abolishing this silver. So later what happened, United States bimetallism was adopted and remained a legal standard until 1873. So what happened? The France, on the other hand, introduced and maintained bimetallism for French Revolution. So these countries, some other countries like China, India, Germany, Holland were on silver. So they were thinking that whoever is maintaining gold as their reserve or gold as their currency were known as developed country. So the in the on the other hand, who had silver as the mode of exchange, they were like they were still developing country. The international monetary system before 1870s can be characterized as bimetallism. So they had both gold and silver, as I told you. So since this exchange ratio between two metals were fixed officially, only the abundant metal was used for your money, driving more scarce metal off out of circulation. Because what happens is when one country which is having more of gold and the other country is having less of silver, what happens? The trade becomes the coinage, that is the coins wherever they were trading, scarce because the ratio was around like 15 is to 3, like yeah, one sorry one so you if you have 15 silver coins is equal to one gold coin. So when they had these kind of a transaction, what happened, they started losing the silver coins value. So there is when they still 1875 they were using gold and silver. Later came the classic gold, which is fully fledged standard established like in 1821 by Great Britain. So then after that, what happened? Gold alone was assured of unrestricted coinage. two-way convertibility of gold and national currency as a stable ratio. So what happened later? They started introducing the national currencies. Even after introducing the national currencies, what happened? They maintained gold as the main form of exchange. So what happened? They had these both gold as well as national currency. They were trading together. Then gold may be freely exported and imported at that point of time. Then what happened? Supply of because of supply of newly minted gold or political intervention, the classic gold standard also uh, had to come to an end. Then came the interwar period during the World War. So, because of this more of gold, they were not able to buy or they were able to sustain in certain countries because gold was only treated as a form of currencies in most of the countries at that point of time. The other developing countries had a less or scarce because, as I told you, those countries was having silver as more as their currency. What will happen is they had to give 15 silver coins to get 3 gold coins or 5 silver coins for one gold coin. So they had started losing their silver coinage. Okay. Then what happened? For the betterment of economic nationalism, they actually started uh, German provided a classic example of hyperinflation. Then they had 1 trillion times of high pre-war level. So later to that, during the period, country widely used a predatory depreciation to their currencies as a mean of gaining advantage in the world export market. Okay, then came the Bretton Woods system. So this Bretton Woods system was like representative 44 nation gathered. Then they had representatives succeeded in drafting, signing the Articles of Agreement of International Monetary Fund, which constitute a core of Bretton Woods system. So under this Bretton Woods system, what happened was each country established a par value in relation to the US dollars. So they which pegged to the gold at 35 per ounce. For example, what will happen is British pound. For example, what is happening is if you have three countries, for example, British, German, and French, what will happen? They will have their par value. For example, we will take it as 20, 25, 30. They are going to peg or they're going to convert their currency into US dollars. And from that US dollars, they're going to get the value of gold. This is how Bretton Woods system uh, like they pegged at 35,000 $35 per ounce. So the gold value became $35 per ounce. However, the member country with the fundamental disequilibrium, what happened? The par value of its currency. Under Bretton Woods system, US dollar was the only currency that was fully convertible to gold. So though they had Britain pound, German mark, or French franc, what happened? The only currency which had the power to convert their currency into gold was US dollars. Then we had flexible rate regime. So this flexible rate regime is a demise of Bretton Woods system after the ratified after fact of January, when IMF members met the Jamaica agreed to set the new rules for the international monetary system. So first one was they declared acceptable IMF members. Central banks were allowed to intervene. Exchange market were to iron out all these things, and non-oiling exporting countries. Then they had less developed countries where even greater access to IMF. Then they had IMF continued to provide assistance to the countries facing balance of payment and exchange rate difficulty. Then later what happened was they actually provoked the representation among the people of developing countries receiving IMF's balance of payments and loans. So these are the evolution. So bimetallism, they started with the two gold as well as silver coins. Later, they were only into gold coins. In during interwar period, the gold was not taken into consideration because they didn't get the actual value. Then the Bretton Woods system, whichever the national currency they had, they can convert into US dollars so that the US dollar was the only base to convert into gold. Then they had flexible regime rate, which means they started avoiding gold as a form of exchange rate. Instead, they tried to bring the every country's national currency so that their country's value or their country's currency is valued more. This is how the evolution of international monetary systems. Next, we have the currency rate exchange rate agreements. So what were the first one is no separate legal tender. So this one actually is to classify exchange rate agreement based on the degree to which the exchange rate is determined by the market. Okay, than the government. For example, see, sometimes the fluctuation of prices is based on the demand and supply or the value for the product in that country. So based on that, we have the first one is no separate legal tender. The currency of another country circulates as a sole legal tender. Adopting such an agreement implies a complete surrender of the monetary authorities' control over the domestic monetary policy. So this is one. The second one is currency board. Currency board agreement is a monetary agreement based on explicit legislative commitment to the exchange rate. This is actually eliminating the traditional central bank function, such as monetary control, lender of last resort, and they have leaving a little room for discretionary monetary policy. Next, we have conventional peg. It's a fixed rate, but another currency of baskets of currencies where the basket is formed. For example, from the currency of major trading financial partners and ways that geographic distribution of trade, services, or capital. That is another like whether they are getting the maximum when they are pegging to the other currency. Then we have stabilized agreement. Stabilized agreement entails a spot market, spot market exchange rate that remains with the margin of 2%. Then we have the required the stability can meet their respect to a single currency or baskets of currency. And we have crawling peg. Crawling peg involves the confirmation of countries, authorities, arrangements, the currencies adjustments in small amount at fixed rate or the response to the selected quantitative indicators. Crawl-like agreement is nothing but it is exchange rate within the narrow margin of 2% statistically identified trend for 6 months or more. Then pegged exchange rate with horizontal bands is nothing but the value of currency is maintained within the margin of fluctuation, which at least plus or minus percentage around the fixed or central rate. Then we have another known as other managed arrangement. So this category is residual when the exchange rate agreement does not meet the criteria of any other category. Arrangement characterized by the frequent shift in the policy may fall into this category. Then we have floating. As we all know, it is determined without any ascertainable or predictable path of rate. So in particular, exchange rate can satisfy the statistical criteria for stabilization. Then we have free floating. A floating exchange rate can be classified as free floating if the intervention occurs only exceptional and aims to address disordered market condition, and if the authorities have provided information or data confirmation, the intervention have been limited to most 3 instances in the previous 6 months. Okay. Yeah, these these are the currency exchange rate agreements that they have made, and post to this is where we are having our exchange rate currency through different currencies is converted to different currencies. So these were the agreements that they have to follow when they have to exchange their currency for currency. Okay, thank you.